Hey, greetings to all you wonderful people. Today I saw that Rand Paul, a senator, I forget where he's from, he's Ron Paul's son. They're traditionally libertarians. But anyways, I saw him stop a bill for the funding of Israel. We give billions of dollars every year to Israel in aid. And the thing is, while, Democrat and Republican constituents there's millions of them with student debt, Israelis get college for free. So pretty much we fund Israel to get free college and other social services that our own country denies us. Like, come on, can we not ask them, okay, you guys got to be more like us if we're giving you all this free money. You can't be giving out more to your population than we are to ours. And that's the thing, when you talk about foreign influence like Russians, Israel is much more influential, not only in the Congress, but in the media, social media. I mean, I'll put a documentary in, I'll put a link to the documentary in the comments or section or whatever below, showing how organized they are on influencing people in a pretty disingenuous way. It's a documentary that was produced by Al Jazeera, and then the Israelis worked on not getting it released onto TV, which they were successful at, but it can still be found on the internet. So that's the first thing I want to touch on, and that's where you can see that we don't have two parties, because both parties are for, basically exemplifies is that we don't really have two parties. We don't have a choice. We have one party, two factions. Both of those factions are pro-Israel at the detriment of the American people. They rather fund services that they give to Israelis that they want to deny to us. That is basically treasonous. I mean, they are for another country more than they are our own country. Yet they are supposedly elected representatives of Americans. They're not acting in the American interest. You want to talk about foreign influence? There you go, clear cut. When I was a child, I obviously didn't understand these issues, and I was totally for funding and protecting Israel. I did not know about Zionism. But that is what it is. And, you go back to the attacking of the USS Liberty in the Mediterranean during the Six-Day War, where Israel most likely did not want any proof. There was a reconnaissance vessel, American reconnaissance vessel out there. Israel didn't want any proof that they were the ones behind the war, and so they saw the American flag, and there was intercepted communications, that never were made public, and the people that were on that boat were forced to remain silent for most of their lives. But anyways, the story came out, there was intercepted communications that they confirmed that it was an American flag, and then they were given the order to fire. So that could do two things. That could stop any reconnaissance from happening, and also create the sort of false flag event that they believed America might use to join the war, as we have in so many other cases where we fake an attack or fake the imminence of the mushroom cloud sort of attack before, going to war. Like, we're always, to the American people, we're like taught that, America is great and we protect the world, and there's all these evil people that want to destroy us of our freedoms, while mechanization is continually improving, resources more easily accessible, less jobs need to exist, and yet we're struggling more than ever. But really, our government and the rich, they really care about us, like that's kind of what we've been instructed. And so does Israel, as they shoot the USS Liberty. And there's a whole thing about the Mossad front company being discovered, the van, the moving van, the dancing Israelis, you can Google it. There's news reports on how the Israelis most likely knew, they had the intelligence that the attack was going to happen, you know, that of course they don't really talk about. So that's foreign influence, and I'm really happy that Rand Paul came out against it at the same time. That is a very dangerous thing to do. I mean, you know, another dangerous job. Imagine if you worked for WikiLeaks. I mean, Julian Assange right now is being tortured, most likely. You know, they're denying access to the internet. They denied access to his lawyers, which bring food he might not be eating. The theory is, by those most close to him, including his mom, is that they are making the conditions as hard as possible in hoping that he leaves on his own accord, so he can then be abducted by the so-called British and or American authorities, which are pretty much just criminals or mindless bots acting for criminals. And the most ironic thing about this, he is public enemy number one. I mean, for the establishment, the people that want to feed us lies while they do a whole bunch of other things. They feed us so many lies that we make choices based on a false reality, and therefore they steal our democracy. These intelligence agencies, like there was one program where they can interject Russian, Iranian, Chinese code into a hack, and so America does the hack. Let's say America hacks France, one of its allies. Let's say it hacks North Korea. North Korea will now think it was Russia or China doing it, like, why are these guys doing this or whatever, We could either be hacking for real strategic information or simply to cause friction between certain intelligence agencies and or countries. The thing is, he exposed that, so they're a little bit upset with him. But see, that's the thing, WikiLeaks, if you just read WikiLeaks, you have all the information there to know that the government is not on our side, that most or many of the key players in the highest positions of government do not see us as friends, do not see us as allies, do not see us as someone that should be respected and trusted with information, or trusted with enough information to make the correct decisions. They're doing all this stuff in secrecy. And again, they are not elected by the people. They are a permanent state. They are there. They have all the information to control not only our politicians, but businessmen. They can tap the phones. They can hear about ideas before they're patented. They have all this stuff to do so much, and they give the information to the Five Eyes or whatever, to Israel, so Israel can do the same thing to us. Britain can do the same thing to us. Former British colonies, Australia, Canada can do the same thing to us. And that really makes me question if we ever even had independence from Britain in the first place, or we only did until the War of 1812. Because it kind of looks like, we don't. We can give them... Who is the tail wagging the dog? But, so yeah, that's the ironic thing about it is, that is the true enemy, Julian Assange, which is truth. They have never been found to have published one falsified document. And yet, they want us to believe, once Julian Assange does this and might possibly influence the election, that it's the fake news they're all concerned about, right? That it's the fake news that they're going to take Facebook in and pressure about and threaten to break up, and then all of a sudden Facebook is deleting the Free Thought Project and all these other anti-war independent media projects. This guy, he's getting up. Anyways, he's going fast. Sorry, it looked like he was going really fast. I mean, it's just so blatantly obvious that it is not fake news that they're after. It's the people that they're after. It's a war on truth, which is a war on democracy. Demos, kratos are the root words of democracy. People rule. They are at war with people rule. They are a permanent, deep state with money going way back, very old connected money that wants more of it, that wants control. And they're the same people that have been destroying the world's, disrupting disruptive technology, stealing our resources, the people's resources of the world for their own profit. Like Chevron is the biggest oil extractor in Saudi Arabia. UAE, what the UAE doesn't even have big reserves. Why is it so? Why does it have the tallest building? Why does it have supposedly the only 7-star hotel with like a helicopter landing pad built in the middle of the freaking water? Why does it have so much beachfront property of homes where they built these fake, you know, palm tree leaf islands to give a whole bunch of people waterfront property? Why was there no tax for so long? Why does it have the world's largest mall? So why is this country, with doesn't even have a lot of oil reserves, able to be so prosperous? Well, it's obvious it is a puppet of the American government. It's an ally, you know. They're the ones in Yemen with Saudi Arabia right now, starving millions of people. And at some point, some of those starving people are going to begin eating people. Not only that, they're dying. Children are dying. We care about people, or our establishment cares about people. It cares about democracy, that it's making these Houthi, the so-called rebels that don't want the puppet government, that have lived there for thousands of years on that land, that are being conquered, millions of them. This isn't a small group. Millions of people are dying. Our establishment is doing that, protecting a dictatorship that has been seen to kill like 50 women in a day in the streets. I'm talking about Saudi Arabia, the people that chopped up a journalist. But why is UAE like that? My theory is that it's basically the hotel for the super rich, for those oil men, for any of those guys that want to go out and audit their operations, see what's going on firsthand. They don't want to just hang out anywhere. Oh, and there's organized prostitution just happens to be for foreigners, while everything else is illegal. So my idea is that it was purposely put there, and that yes, it's a conspiracy theory. Maybe it's just all coincidence, but you know, whatever you want to take. But it just happens to have all of the nicest stuff for rich people in the middle of the desert. Why so many of the other countries have been torn apart. And that's the thing, if the Middle East was able to keep the oil revenue extracted from its ground, the UAE would look like a regular city, nothing great. That would be all over the Middle East. It would be so prosperous, so rich, so advanced, look so amazing. They were the cradle of civilization. What was Iraq invented writing? I mean, they have a lot of inventions with math. No traffic. I'll pick this up. In many ways, they are more civilized than their European counterparts. Back to Saladin, the difference between how he treated those that were imprisoned after war, and how Richard the Lionheart did. They protected many of the texts once the Western and eventually the Eastern Roman Empire fell. The Ottoman Empire, and it was a backward empire, but there was slavery there for longer than there was in the United States. But I'm just saying, they are not backward, crazy people. They're white people's cousins. We evolved with them in the Middle East for a few thousand years before breaking off. So they're not, and all people are basically the same. We all working is good, having a family is good, providing for our families, seeing our family do good. We all want that. There's no country of evil people. There's just countries that are ruled by pieces of shit, sociopaths, psychopaths. It doesn't mean all the people are bad, and yet those are the people that are continually made to suffer because of American foreign policy, and also domestic policy is also here too. Certain groups have been targeted for political and financial reasons. Talking at Richard Nixon's, one of key members in Richard Nixon's cabinet spoke about how they created the drug war to target anti-war hippie protesters and the blacks by demonizing them, attacking them, and they knew that it was a lie. So the foreign policy is extension of the domestic policy, but it's all basically the same. Comes from the same poisonous tree. Okay, so back to Saudi Arabia and them chopping up Khashoggi and then also murdering subsequently murdering another journalist that was kept from American Airways. Why is there a problem with killing journalists or imprisoning journalists or keeping them, detained one way or another, like Julian Assange, or taking out his associates, which happened to a guy, I think it was in Denmark or something, walking out from a pub, never seen again. His belongings show up washed up on a beach. I lost my train of thought. Hold on. So yeah, why is that important? Well, again, in order for there to be a true democracy, and I'm not even saying we have that, but many people believe, they don't even really know what democracy is, just like they really don't know what communism is. One of them they were trained to think is really bad and evil and means no freedom, and the other one is like they're trained to believe it's good. And but actually the Politburo in the Soviet Union had greater turnover than did the United States Congress. So in that sense, they were actually more democratic. And just like in Rome, a lot of the power is in the Senate today. But why is it bad? Because when you silence information, you silence dissent. If there's nobody criticizing your government or the information, it disseminates, as currently happens today, then you are under complete influence of your government. They can tell you lies and you have no one watching your back telling you that those aren't lies, and then you make decisions based on those lies, including support, including whatever, following orders, including staying quiet, including voting, believing that your vote matters. But what ends up happening is you vote on something without knowing the truth, and therefore you are not really voting with free will, because they controlled what you thought to be your truth, and therefore they controlled your decision. And that is what they want to do. You think they care about fake news? Fake news only acts to delegitimize a group. They care about producing fake news. It would be advantageous for them to produce fake news that would trick many advocates of alternative media and anti-war people and socialists and libertarians and all the independents. They would be good to make those memes or whatever news articles that seem accurate, but on further inspection, when you dig deeper, you find out that they are not true. It is the establishment that has the motive to do such a thing. Basically, nobody else does. And it was pretty obvious before they even started this fake news fight that they were indeed making this stuff. And the Israelis do it. There's certain companies, the gas company, whatever, the oil companies do it, obfuscate global warming. Like the FBI has been witnessed rewriting Wikipedia as though they had a full-time job, doing it for about 8 hours a day. So they're taking away truth. They don't care about fake news. They care about real news. That's why they're after Assange. They want to take him out. They care about not having a real democracy. They care about keeping their permanent state jobs, their institutions, their NATOs, their military-industrial complex. So much seems to be getting scrubbed from the internet. Videos that I used to have saved on YouTube are now saying they've been taken off for various reasons. Quotes and videos of historic leaders, like when Eisenhower talked about how the military-industrial complex, every jet means less schools are going to be built, etc., seems to be disappearing. I mean, there is a And Trump just increased the intelligence budgets. They have billions of dollars to employ people to spread disinformation, to spread the fake news, while our mainstream media, which consists of only 5 conglomerations, relies on the government not only to not be broken up as they should be, so the government now can hold that over them, as they just did Facebook, before Facebook started violating basically our First Amendment, or I should say our government violated our First Amendment indirectly by applying pressure to Facebook in order for Facebook to begin censoring the truth. Well, I think that's enough for today. I hope that explains some stuff. Everyone have a wonderful, absolute, fabulous, incredible, beautiful, outstanding, prosperous day, evening, year, all that. Do good by doing well. Or vice versa.